In this video, I'm going to show you a really cool mixing tip for compressing something without actually using a compressor. Now, this works on virtually anything in the mix, but today we're using it on an electric guitar. Sometimes you might find yourself in a situation where something's just not quite sitting where you want it to in the mix. So you reach for a compressor, but then even with the slightest amount of gain reduction, you're getting audible pumping. That sometimes might be okay and absolutely what you're going for, but sometimes it might not be. So I'm going to show you a different solution to that problem without the compressor and without that audible pumping. Okay, so here we have an electric guitar part. I'm just going to play you a small section of it. Okay, it sounds fine, just a nice, clean, crunchy guitar, but in the mix, it's just not quite sitting where we want. Let's take a listen.
Silence in the air tonight, ain't got no strength to fight, so I'll just keep my distance.
So for a start, it's not bright enough. We're going to have to add some EQ and get that poking through a little bit more, but also the level's kind of up and down. Let's see what happens when we add a compressor. I'm going to go for an LA3A. It's a great compressor, particularly for electric guitars. Let's see what that does to it. So as you can hear, even with the slightest amount of gain reduction, we can hear that audible pumping. Sometimes that's absolutely fine, sometimes that's a great sound, but it's not what I want in this situation. So we're going to ditch that. The first thing that I'm going to load up is a virtual channel plugin. This is VCC from Slate, and this is emulating a Brit 4KE, an SSL-E console. Now, we're driving the input quite hard here. I want the guitar to push this console into the red, maybe even clipping it towards the end. What that's going to do is it's going to add some very light, very transparent limiting. It's going to compress it ever so slightly. But because it's not an actual compressor, because it's the channel limiting it, we're not going to get that audible pumping that we heard in the compressor. Let's take a listen to what that does. This is really subtle. If you're not listening on high quality headphones or studio monitors, then you might struggle to hear. So compared to it without, that is just pinning it back ever so slightly. We're then running into an EQ, we're adding some brightness. So we've got some 4K, we've got some 10K. We're rolling off a little bit of the extreme highs down to 15, just getting rid of some of the amp noise, hiss. But we've got some really, really nice brightness. Let's put the EQ in, let's hear what that's doing. So that's really, really nice and bright. Let's take a listen in the mix.
Silence in the air tonight, ain't got no strength to fight, so I'll just keep my distance.
So it's sounding better, but it's still kind of up and down all over the place. Don't want to compress because we don't want the pumping, but we still need to do something just to pin it back a little bit. So the final thing that we're running into is a virtual tape machine. This is a VTM from Slate. What I love about tape is that it will apply a really soft, natural compression that's focused on the upper frequencies, the upper mids and the highs, which is exactly what we want here. We don't want to turn down the brightness of the EQ. We want that brightness, but at the minute, it's just kind of a little bit erratic in the mix. We just want to tame it and pin it in place. That is exactly what the tape does. So again, we're pushing this into the red, maybe even close to the edge, but what that's just going to do, it's just going to make that sort of soft limiting more apparent. Let's take a listen. For comparison, let's take a listen to that without the channel and without the tape. Just going to drop those out. It's pretty subtle, but it is limiting the signal and it's applying a really nice gentle compression, and the tape is pinning back some of those high-end boosts. Let's now listen in the mix. This is with all the processing that I've just shown you.
Tonight, ain't got no strength to fight, so I'll just keep my distance. Stars are fading, but the
That is sitting absolutely perfectly. We've got the brightness that's helping it poke out through the mix, but we've also got that compression, that really transparent compression from the channel and from the tape, just pinning it back and holding it where it wants to be, but without the pumping that we had from the compressor. Let's take out the channel and the tape and listen to what that sounds like in the mix.
There's a silence in the air tonight. Ain't got no strength to fight, so I'll just keep my distance.
It sounds fine, but it's just too peaky. It's just poking out that little bit too much. Put the channel back in, put the tape back on.
Silence in the air tonight. Ain't got no strength to fight, so I'll just keep my distance.
You can really hear it just smoothing out that top end, but still keeping the nice presence from the EQ. Now, if you're a songwriter, then I've got something that you're going to want to try out. If you're like most songwriters, you probably don't lack inspiration and ideas. In fact, you've probably got a million song ideas and hooks hummed into the voice notes app on your phone. The problem with this is as you add more and more, the old ideas just get pushed further and further down in the app and potentially can just get forgotten about forever. Or even worse, you change your phone, you lose all of your voice notes app, and that's it. They have gone forever and you're never getting them back. Well, I've come up with a solution to this problem. It's called the Songwriters Project Organiser, and it is completely free to use. You can access it anywhere and on any device. This project organizer lets you keep track of every single idea, right from just an initial idea that you've hummed into your phone, right through to fully finished, mastered and released. And you can keep track of all of your ideas and see in an instant where everything is at. As you come up with new ideas, you put them straight into the organizer instead of the voice notes app, and this will keep track of absolutely everything. You'll never lose it. You get a new phone, you lose your voice notes, not a problem. Log into the app, everything is right where you left it. Another huge benefit of the organizer is that you can share it with anybody that you choose to, which makes collaboration an absolute breeze. So maybe you're collaborating with another artist, or maybe you're working with a producer on an EP or an album, or a mix engineer, and you want a really easy way to just give them access to what you're working on at that moment in time. They can see your project organizer, they can go in, and they can even change it as they do their work. You can add Google Drive and Dropbox links so that everyone can access all of the files that you need, and you can even add attachments as well. So if you like what I'm talking about here, there is a link in the description below. With this project organizer, you will keep track of absolutely all of your projects, you will finish more songs, and most importantly, you will never ever forget about or lose a good idea again. So go ahead, click the link, start using the project organizer now.